Alright, well, without further ado, let's get this show on the road. So anyway, as I've said, today we are going to be watching Dave versus Out of Control as part of the Aoe2 HD OZ Clan's Arabia 16 1v1s tournament, which you can find more information about on the links in the bottom right corner of the screen. I'm Resonance22, and I will be casting these matches, and you can find more of my content at my YouTube channel, which link is at the top right. Yeah, no, it's not in control. that would be pretty funny, but no. Alright, well, let's get started. So let's see, right off the bat. Alright, so this is a Huns mirror match on Arabia. And you'll notice that this is the variant of Arabia that you sometimes get, that actually is sort of the non-desert version, so there's no puddles in the trees. You'll notice how Dave is chopping this tree for just a second while waiting for his sheep to get under the town center. That way he gets just a little bit of extra wood, and that his villagers aren't idle while waiting for the sheep to get here. It's the little things that make the difference. Let's see how both players are doing right off the bat. Looks like neither player is opting to scout with their sheep at the moment. Alright, yeah, it looks like Out of Control is scouting a bit with his sheep. Getting a little bit of extra vision here is very, very important. Looks like Out of Control has located his main gold mine. Looks like Dave's gold is all really on the same hill, actually. This is pretty interesting. And it's all quite vulnerable. Very vulnerable, in fact. So I expect Out of Control to really exploit this as soon as he can. Alright, so we've got the standard 3 on wood, 6 on sheep right now. I'm assuming he's going to grab the boar. Let's see, I wonder if there's like a population difference between the players. Looks like Dave is actually, is he one population behind? No, Dave is one population ahead, okay. That's what I thought, yeah, because now... Yeah, he's missing one on his lumber camp. That's very interesting. Anyway, you're going to shoot the boar twice. He's going to garrison his villager right now, and kill the boar very quickly. Not the most... I guess not the best positioned boar lure, but it'll do. Interesting that he is sending back his hunter that is low on health. I wonder if that's a mistake or not. I think he's going to go build the mill as soon as he gets 4 more wood, yeah. So I expect him to put a mill down very soon. Curious to see that Out of Control has only 2 on his lumber camp. And this appears to be, what is that, only 5 on the boar. Usually you want at least, well, I guess 5 on the boar is okay, but it's just kind of curious that he only has 2 on wood. I'm not sure why that's the case. Usually you want 3 on wood so that you can have a... But you want to get the 3 on wood before you start the boar so that you can... Well, get your wood supply going so you can get your mill out. Because Dave already has his mill, but... Can Out of Control even afford it? Okay, yeah, he can. He just chose not to build it. Very interesting. Looks like Out of Control is grabbing his second boar. This will be very, very well timed, because just as the first boar is finishing, he'll get the second boar under his town center. Although he has to be careful here, because he wouldn't want to kill it in a poor position, but... that's alright. Generally, you want to kill it under your town center, so that your villagers don't have to walk a long distance to go drop it off. Looks like LegendaryDave has failed to locate a lot of his sheep, which are over here. Yeah, which you can't see. But perhaps as he gets the boar, he'll notice the sheep and fix that. Wisely, he is opting to hunt trees while... well, chop trees down while he's waiting for the boar to come by. Trying to minimize that idle time. I'll be curious to see if he's going to go put a mill right here and go hunt some deer. Villager's still idle. A little bit of sloppy control from both players. This is going to be a very off-center boar lure, and it's going to be right next to this tree here. Yeah, so he is going for the mill. I expect to see the standard 4 villagers hunting these deer right now. That way, just as they finish harvesting the deer, once they get the 35 food from the deer and they have to drop it off, the deer will be completely finished. This is just to minimize the amount of time that the villagers are walking from one point to another. If you hunt the deer with only 3 villagers, your villagers will have to drop off the 35 food and then come back for like another 20 on the deer. And that tends to be a waste. Looks like both players are hunting deer as well. I expect to see both players going up very shortly. Looks like Dave is waiting to get his loom, whereas Out of Control has had his loom for quite a bit. Just bringing in some extra sheep. Yeah, I expect both players to advance very shortly. Wonder if Out of Control is already advancing. He probably should be. No, he's not. So I'm assuming he's waiting for... oh wow, he's going for a much later feudal age than standard. And somehow Dave is 2 population behind. That's rather concerning. Unfortunately for Dave, he doesn't have that many available spots to chop wood, so he's going to have to put a lumber camp sort of towards the front of his base in a more vulnerable location, which is a shame. What he could have done is he could have also put another lumber camp right here, but that's also a little suspect, although I suppose he could just wall this and keep his wood just a bit more safe, and perhaps he could wall this off as well. Out of Control definitely has the better map generation in this case, that's for sure. While his main gold is towards the front and on a hill so that it can be easily harassed, just the way the trees are positioned makes it just his base easier to defend in general. Yeah, very late feudal ages from both players, and pretty late barracks as well. Usually it's standard in these Arabia Hun wars is that you would advance on much less population than, say, 26. And both players are going to hit feudal age at about the same time, except Out of Control actually has 3 more villagers, which just goes to show that his town center has been idle less and that he's just been playing a little bit more efficient in the Dark Age. And those extra 3 villagers, as they're gathering throughout these 2 minutes that we're advancing, are going to make a very significant difference in the economy. And I think that advantage will add up. But yeah, usually it's customary to advance around somewhere from 21 to 24 population, but it looks like LegendaryDave is just a bit behind. He's going for scouts, which is pretty apparent. I think both players are going for scouts, at least as an opening, just because of their stockpiling food and their farms. Looks like Out of Control is on only 1 lumber camp, though. Yeah, so we've got scouts coming out from both players. These deer are definitely going to be a prime target, and I would not be surprised if Out of Control stopped hunting those deer and just moved them back. I do like this positioning of the barracks and stable because he could just put a palisade wall right here and just close this off. Gotta protect his lumberjacks, that's for sure. I expect to see 1 or 2 spearmen coming out from both players to protect them from the obvious scout raid that is coming. Good on him to do some harassment right now with his scout and then pull it back. Great control from Dave right here. To try and delay the stable. Dave got his stable up much sooner, actually, which can make the difference. Oh wow, so he's going for a blacksmith right off the bat. Looks like actually Out of Control has noticed that he has quite a bit of an advantage going on here just in population, and the way that he's stockpiling resources, yeah, he's going for a fast castle age. Very, very risky, but quite devastating if done right. Dave does have the hill advantage here, so This is going to be a close fight, but it looks like Out of Control just barely takes that. Yeah, and you can tell he's just waiting until... Yep, and he's going to advance right now. This is going to be a very fast Castle Age timing from him. And he's going to go straight into Knights. The reason that he has this Blacksmith here is it just shows us that the quick Blacksmith guarantees the fast Castle Age. And then he can research the level 1 defense upgrade for his cavalry units right off the bat. And just send those Knights in. They're going to be super tanky, and he can use them to harass the villagers over here with almost no difficulties. Legendary Dave is wisely reacting by pumping out some spearmen right now, which he's going to use to try and fend those Knights off. Unfortunately, he waited quite a while to send these scouts out that I'm not sure how effective they'll be, but perhaps he has some time to get some damage in. What he should do, if he can, is try and force Out of Control off this gold mine so that when the Knights come out, they can't do much. I expect that's what he's going to do, especially because he'll have the hill advantage in this fight. Out of Control should not lose his scout here, though. This is a mistake if he loses that, yeah. Because then he's going to lose all of his scouting, and he knows very, very little about Dave's base right now. He does know that Dave has a stable, and that's really what matters, but... You know, he doesn't know about all these spearmen positioned over here. Or really the position of Dave's lumber camps, which should be his prime target when the Knights come out. Yeah, so Dave is making a very wise decision here and zoning Out of Control off his gold mine. Unfortunately, he does lose a scout out of this. That's unfortunate, but if Out of Control can't mine that gold, then these Knights are not going to be that effective. However, I'm concerned that Dave isn't being more aggressive in this time period, because the reason that you don't see a fast Castle Age strategy on an open map like Arabia, especially in a situation like this, well, you can, but only really in team games, because, you know, it's very hard to defend this in the meantime, and you're just vulnerable while you're advancing. You have to spend all those resources on Castle Age, and yeah, look at this. You know, Dave is able to bully Out of Control off of his mines and off of his lumber camps. Yeah, yes. Alright, so we've got another town center coming right off the bat. This is a great decision. He needs to secure this wood. This is absolutely necessary. I mean, obviously he needs to secure the gold too, but wood is the most important resource in the game, so he's got to really keep that. Those scouts are going to die here due to Legendary Dave exploiting the hill advantage there to its fullest potential. Looks like he's opting for archers right now. Alright, this knight is going to make short work of these scouts. Dave should pull these scouts far, far, far away from this. This is a bad fight, even with the hill advantage. It would be a mistake for Dave to lose these scouts, that's for sure. He could use them for vision. Is that another town center? We have another town center going up right now. Curious that he is putting it right here instead of next to his gold mine, but I suppose the elevation here would make that difficult. This does give him access to another forest right here, as well as some stone, so that's pretty important. And yeah, now we run into the problem where there are 3 town centers almost up, and Dave is not quite ready to advance. He's getting close though. I expect to see, yeah, he's going to make a lot more spearmen right now. This is the wise decision, because he knows the knights are coming eventually. I also like the decision to put the watchtower right here. He has all these gold mines right here on this hill, and it would be really a shame if he were to lose them. So he's wisely seeing that this is going to be a huge point that he's going to have to defend during this game if he wants to take it. So he's going to defend this with some spearmen, and he's going to put this tower right here so that he can protect these villagers when the enemy knights come. Looks like he'll be ready to advance pretty soon. Curious to see that he's not making any archers at all, but I suppose they won't be that effective against the knights. So these will definitely be full cavalry archers as soon as he advances to the next stage. Since he has a stable as well, he can go straight into bloodlines if he so desires. Still hasn't found those sheep yet, though. That's a shame. So when your opponent manages to successfully pull off a fast castle, and he's got knights coming your way, you just gotta station spearmen at your exposed resources at the edge of your base, much like Dave is doing. Very good play. And try and fend off these knights. Unfortunately, knights are much stronger than spearmen, and it's going to take a lot of spearmen to take them out. But spearmen are much more cost-effective, so Dave can afford to do this. Dave is advancing right now, which means that he'll be up in just about 2 minutes. Can Out of Control exploit this vulnerable window? Looks like he's opting not to go in with these knights, and I think that that's a pretty big mistake. I mean, despite the fact that there are spearmen over here, there's only one over here, and he could still do some harassment, distract Dave, break Dave's focus. But it looks like he's opting for a much more defensive strategy right here, so this is an interesting decision. This is going to give him a massive economic advantage over Dave. But at the same time, Dave is going to be in the Castle Age very soon, and he's going to go with this pretty standard 3 archery ranges, and then he's going to start pumping out some cavalry archers. He might even add another range on top of this. I think Dave's also going to put like a town center right here as well to try and hold this hill as usual, and really secure the wood and gold. Yeah, very interesting that Out of Control has... he went for a fast castle, but he's not exploiting the technology advantage that he's had on Dave for this long. Looks like he's just opting to sort of go for some sort of boom. Very, very interesting. Since he does have this stone mine secured, he could actually wall up, and I would like to see him try that. At least wall off a bit, perhaps wall this section off, put a little bit of a wall right here, try and create some choke points. A complete wall off is rarely necessary, but you want to sort of force your opponent into taking some free damage from your town centers or castles or whatever, if possible. So yeah, he could wall a bit over here, you know. Force him to walk through here or here if he wants to push in. Got another stable coming out. Looks like he's resuming night production now that his economy is looking quite strong. He has quite a bit of excess gold, though. I believe that this could really be spent into market, or he could pull some of his miners off if he wants to. And move them onto something else. Alright, so Dave is now in the Castle Age. Both players are an even tech advantage right now. And I'm expecting a town center pretty quickly from Dave, and the cavalry archers should be coming right now, it looks like. Yep, he's got cavalry archers at each of these, and Bodkin arrow. This is going to be quite devastating, because Out of Control has basically nothing. He's got, like, he has 3 knights, and one of them is half dead. Oh, wow, and he's got bloodlines already, so... These knights are going to be quite in trouble. They have no upgrades whatsoever, and he has very few of them. These cavalry archers should be able to make short work of that. And yeah, he's doing what I thought he would have done earlier, which is actually put a town center right next to his main gold supply. He found a spot that he could build it without the hills obstructing it. And now this means that this gold is pretty safe, and really it's going to be really hard to harass Out of Control's economy. Thankfully, cavalry archers can do it from a distance, though, so Dave might still be able to pull this off. Since his opponent has so many town centers, I think Dave is going to have to get a siege workshop out very soon, and perhaps get a mangonel to siege this from a distance. Dave is doing what we see a lot of pro players do, which is you have a mining camp on both sides of the gold mine so that you can saturate it further and minimize the amount of time that your villagers have to walk. Oh yeah, cavalry archers do benefit from bloodlines as well as husbandry at the stable. But they only benefit from the archer upgrades at the blacksmith. They're sort of a weird unit. Conquistadors are even stranger, but basically if it's on a horse, for the most part, it benefits from bloodlines and husbandry. Yeah, Dave right now is demonstrating some good control, and he's kiting this knight and trying to get the hill advantage to save this cavalry archer. What you'll see a lot of players do in a situation like that is he'll pull back the cavalry archer that's really low on health, while having the other cavalry archers shoot at something. This is kind of a poor decision right now. He's taking a ton of free damage from this town center. I don't think he's watching his cavalry archers. And that's a pretty significant mistake. Sure, he's killing these knights, but he's just throwing away free money here. What you want to do... Yeah, they would have 50 HP without bloodlines. That is correct. Yeah, what you want to do is you want to sort of reach this critical mass with your ranged units, whether they be like crossbowmen or cavalry archers or... you know, whatever they are, you want to reach this critical mass where you can take out these melee units rather quickly before they can do any damage, and if you get enough cavalry archers, these knights are not threatening, but he does not have enough, and he should really pull these back. You don't want to lose another cavalry archer, Dave. It's like Out of Control is, yeah, he's wisely focusing the one that's on low HP. Great control here from Out of Control. And yeah, we have the town center going up right here like I thought. Great decision to put this town center right here. It secures this wood, it holds this hill, it guarantees him this gold mine, and it makes this area even harder to siege, especially because there's a watchtower there right now with Bodkin arrow, so... Looks like a few villagers are going to die here. Or not. Ooh. Yeah, when a town center's firing at you, or really just anything with arrows before ballistics gets researched, if you run to the left or right, instead of directly in its line of fire, it will miss. So if the town center's firing at you and you run this direction, you're going to take damage, but if you go left or right, you can dodge them. Looks like Dave is going to make a very smart decision here, and he's going to really abuse this terrain, and he's going to sit on this hill advantage, although he should be watching his cavalry archers so they don't walk in range of this town center, and just harass those villagers. Unfortunately, it looks like he pulled a little too far forward, but I guess he's recognizing this right now. Handcart coming out right now. This is good. He's got plenty of villagers. So handcart becomes even more effective. We see that he's building lumber camps closer right now. This is a very important thing you should do. Great play from Dave right here. To minimize the amount of time your villagers have to walk. Out of Control really is watching his villagers, though, and you can see that he's got his defense on lockdown. Looks like he rang the town bell, though, which I don't think is the right decision, and Dave is throwing these cavalry archers away for no reason whatsoever. This is definitely not worth it. He's just throwing away cavalry archers non-stop, so that it's going to be very difficult for him to reach that critical mass that he needs to really put Out of Control in his place, and another one dead. So ideally in this situation, when you're getting raided by, you know, whatever you're getting raided by, instead of ringing the town bell, if you just select a bunch of your villagers and you have them garrison in here, so you do this manually. The reason is because if you ring the town bell, all of the villagers over here go in all these town centers, but the raiding force from Dave is right here, so you only want this town center to fire at these, so that your villagers can keep gathering right now, and all the other areas. Otherwise, if you ring the town bell, all these villagers are idle, which means that Dave gets to do a ton of extra economic damage for free. For free! Still, though, great defense from Out of Control right now, and he's got quite the big villager advantage right now. Let's go see how big that is. Actually, both players are almost even. Huh. I suppose that's because Out of Control's economy has not been, I guess, that great when he got up to the Castle Age immediately, because he plopped out some knights, and then he really didn't have enough food to sustain his villager production for that long. Oh wow, actually Out of Control will be able to advance as soon as he wants to. This is a wise decision, a very wise decision, to put another town center over here, because he recognizes that he has very low wood right now, and he has great food and great gold, and just enough stone to sort of get by. So that, yeah, he recognizes he clearly needs more. And this is why ringing the town bell is really bad, by the way. He could have just finished this town center. There's nothing stopping him from doing this. All these villagers are idle. These farmers don't need to be idle. Only the ones over here did. So I think that's a pretty significant mistake. Out of Control went for Bloodlines. I think that's wise. He wants the Knights to tank up, but I think what's more important than Bloodlines by far is getting the defense upgrade, the Scale Barding Armor. You really, really need that, especially against these Cavalry Archers, because they're doing 8 damage a pop, where they're supposed to do 6. So, if no one had upgrades, the Knights would be taking 4 damage a hit, which isn't that much, but now they have to take 6 damage a hit, and that's huge. Oh yeah, I'm watching the wrong player's users. Ah, thanks for letting me know. Sorry, it is Dave who can advance whenever he wants to, which is why he's putting down the university right now, but that's probably for ballistics. My mistake, my mistake. Anyway. Hopefully, if he doesn't throw away the cavalry archers this time, he can start reaching that critical mass where these knights will just get shredded. Out of Control really, 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 really needs to get that Scale Barding Armor right now, or these knights are just going to get shredded. Bloodlines isn't as important. It gets a lot more effective when you have the defense upgrades. Oh no, he's ringing the town bell again. So all these villagers that over here that are completely safe are idle right now. I think that's pretty significant. Yeah, here's the forward siege workshop that I thought Dave would put down. And he's going to start harassing this with a mangonel. Unfortunately for him, the town center does actually have the hill advantage, so this mangonel is not going to do that much. I suppose you could try... it's going to be tricky to position it in a way that it can do good damage. It would be nice if he put the siege workshop perhaps at the top of a hill instead of in this little valley right here, because when this thing gets attacked, it's surrounded by hills on all sides. The siege workshop's going to take a lot more damage. We have more stables coming from out of control right now. The amount of stables that he is building right now is out of control. Yep, so Dave is advancing right now, hence the siege workshop and the ballistics researching at the university. The ballistics means now that out of control's knights will be even less effective against these. Very curious that he would opt for forging instead of the defense upgrade. While forging is nice and important, the defense upgrades are generally more important because you tend to be able to get to do more damage if your units last longer, especially with melee units. Although it's completely different with ranged units where you want to prioritize the ranged attack upgrade. But with melee units, you want to ensure that they don't get kited too hard. So you want to get that defense upgrade right now, so... Looks like he's going for palisade walls. These are going to be completely useless as soon as one mangonel comes out. Dave should really pull back here, because out of control's got the hill advantage, and he's getting all these free hits, and these cavalry archers are going to get shredded. Dave, no! Pull them back, no. Alright, so we got a ton of damage for free, and some cavalry archers are taken out absolutely for free right now. Even more stables coming out. I wonder if he's going to start going into light cavalry or something, but looks like he's just going for mass knights. Alright, well, out of control should adjust his economy a bit, though, because he is floating about 1k wood, and he could use a lot more food and gold right now. So you can just pull some of those lumberjacks off and put them back. Good control here from Dave. Dave is wisely pulling back, and he's kiting them while these spearmen get some free hits, forcing out of control to fight the spearmen while his cavalry archers get to hit and run and do what they do best. He's holding the hill right now. This is important. And yeah, these cavalry archers are going to make short work of these knights, and... You know, these knights also would like to reach critical mass, but... Yeah, Dave's control here is going to win this fight right now. Out of control should have sent these knights back as soon as he saw that this battle was not going his way. You want to conserve your units, especially the expensive ones. And yeah, this siege workshop's just going down. Understandable, though, because it's in such a vulnerable position. Cavalry archers are going to try and get some free hits right now. And yeah, he's going to wisely pull them back. Great control here from Dave. Out of control is recognizing that the siege workshop cannot be killed right now, but very soon it will be taken out. It's really no threat anyway, so... I'm assuming Dave is waiting to... Yes, he's going to get his heavy cavalry archer right now, and then I think he's going to get his bracer as soon as he can. Out of control is trying to finish the siege workshop off. See, so Dave's got 90 pop, and I think out of control is finally securing that economic advantage that he's been seeking for so long this game. Let's give it a look. Alright. Huh. Looks like both players are still relatively even, although out of control does have a bit more villagers now. Alright, well he's opting for iron casting instead. Yeah, out of control is quite in big trouble here. This is a very significant mistake. You really have to get the defense upgrades, because look at this now. These knights are supposed to norm, because they do 7 by default, so these knights are only supposed to be taking 5 a hit. Now, these knights are taking 8 damage per hit. That's so much more damage than they're supposed to normally be taking, so... Well, they're going to really melt, and they're going to be a lot less cost-effective. That's a lot of food and gold that you can't afford to lose. Anyway, we've got the castle going up right now. Great position at the castle from Dave. This is going to secure all 3 of these gold mines, keep this area very safe, and it's on a hill. It's going to be very, very difficult to siege. Out of control is going to have some significant difficulties removing this, especially if he doesn't get a trebuchet. You just got to pull back these knights. Alright, Dave is really, really demonstrating some great control right now. These knights are going to die for free. Out of control recognizes this, and he pulls it back to save the knight at the last minute. Alright, so we'll see. Yeah, what's out of control's plan here? What I'd like to see, yes, brilliant. Alright, great play here from Out of Control. He's recognizing that it's an emergency situation. Code red. He's got to get to the Imperial Age. So he built a market. He knows that he's floating these 2 cheap resources that he doesn't really need. And he's going to immediately advance as soon as he can. Does he even have the buildings to do so? I guess he doesn't. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty significant mistake. I still love the decision to go to the market, though. That's pretty big. I don't think Dave has a market at all. You know, he doesn't. So the wooden food to gold ratio is going to be a great exchange. Notice how he chose to sell most of his wood for gold. And the reason that he did that was because he needs the food for those knights, which are soon going to be cavaliers as soon as he gets the chance. Alright, great decision here from Dave. Dave has his trebuchet. It would be nice if he perhaps positioned it like maybe right here or something, so that it wouldn't have the disadvantage on the elevation, but either way, this town center is in deep trouble. These knights are basically dead. I don't know why he's throwing all of these away. I know he has to take this fight, or well, he has to fight soon, but what he might want to do is just concede that this town center is dead, advance to the Imperial Age, and then try to get Cavalier and some defense upgrades out, and then fight this instead of just throwing away these knights right now. He's going to do a bit of damage to Dave's army, but he's going to need a lot of knights if he wants to be able to surround this force and do damage. He did take the trebuchet out. That's good. The hill advantage right now is showing that it is pretty significant in the sense that these cavalry archers... He lost a lot of them here, because Out of Control was attacking with a slight elevation advantage. Yeah, the difference in upgrades here is staggering. Not only are these cavalry archers taking 2 less damage from the knights per hit than they're supposed to, well actually they're taking the default damage now, making these upgrades not that important. But yeah, he's got all this extra attack and range, and Out of Control recognizes that the situation is now out of his control, so he does resign. Great game from both players, though. We saw some great play from them. Out of Control demonstrating that unorthodox strategies, if executed right on Black Forest, can work quite well. He managed to get away with his fast castle against Dave, despite the fact that Dave was raiding him with scouts. Good defense here. Great boom. His economy is very strong. But Dave showed us here that getting to the Imperial Age first and exploiting the fact that he has trebuchets is very, very significant. And I think what really turned the game here is that these knights do not have their defense upgrades, meaning that these cavalry archers can just shred them. It makes those knights a lot less effective. Getting the blacksmith upgrades is very significant, and Out of Control could afford to research them if he wanted to. He still almost turned around a lost situation with this market right here. But in the end, it wasn't enough. So great game from both players. Let's go check out the achievement screen and see what's up. Alright, so yeah, we can see that it was actually a pretty close game until the very end, and it really was. Both sides killing lots of units, losing lots of units. But yeah, Dave had more guys, that's quite true. Cavalry archers being cheaper than knights does help, but you know, there were a lot of knights thrown away by Out of Control, as well as a lot of cavalry archers thrown away from Dave, but Dave could afford to replace them a lot easier. We can see that the economies were actually relatively even, despite the fact that Out of Control had so many extra town centers. But yeah, this was the game-changing factor of this game. I always try to identify what won the game for whichever player, and in this case, it is most definitely the research count. The technology advantage that Dave had was what won this game, and it was looking close. Like, this is an exceptional castle time, but you know, the fact that he got to the Imperial Age and he just got all these technology advantages, very, very significant. That's a pretty low villager count, honestly, for all the town centers that he had. He probably could have made a few more, because if you look at this, his largest army was 25, so he couldn't sustain pumping out a lot of knights. So he could have afforded to maybe go all the way up to like 140 villagers if he wanted to, just to guarantee that he can keep pumping out some knights, maybe even some hussars. Alright, so great game from both players, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I very much appreciate you tuning in. If you would like to see more information about the tournament and the Aoe2 HD OZ Clan, you can find that in the bottom right corner of the screen. They're the guys who are hosting this. And if you like my commentary, you can find a lot more of my commentaries on my YouTube channel, which link is at the top right. I'm going to take a a few minutes break right now. I'll be back in 2 minutes as I prepare for the next match, so please do stay tuned in and send the stream to your friends. Alright, so I'll be right back. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys.